are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm recovering a little bit from last night's sorry, I'm turning up the volume. Last night's Mastodon and Gojira show,
Um,
um, which was incredible. So I'm just it was a late night. We hung out and were talking to Braun until the place was it was very close. We almost didn't get out. We got locked in. We got locked. I get people to let us out. It is a big outdoor venue.
yeah, I saw Gojira and Macedon last year here in Portugal. They played in the festival. What can we say? Amazing bands. They're great. Great
Yeah.
shows, and I love both of them anyway. They are always fun to watch anyway. So
Yeah, they're my two. I mean, just for me personally, because I'm older, and they're my two favorite modern-ish. They've been around for over 20 years, but
yeah,
I feel like their quality of albums and quality of songs, uh, the amount of craft that they have behind it all, they just sit at the top of the heap. So I'm really happy that both of them are so successful.
yeah,
It makes me happy.
yeah, and they have like probably two of the best drummers in the
Yes. Oh, totally different too. Completely different styles, but yeah, fastest hands versus the coolest accents.
yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Just great. Love it.
And let's talk about Forbidden because it's not a reunion; it's a rebirth for,
Right. Well,
for
I mean, it's not a reunion, so yeah.
yeah. So, how long have you been plotting this rebirth for Forbidden?
You know, I'm going to be saying this a lot because I have a lot of interviews coming, but we hadn't been planning or plotting. Uh, it literally was. I mean, I was the last one out of the five of us, um, and even Chris didn't wasn't even trying to be in the band. He was just telling me I should do this. You should do this, Craig. You should, Chris Contos. I'm talking about. But no, I was the last guy because I mean, my deep respect for Russ. Uh, and my friendship and the years, the brotherhood, the years and years we did it together. I was 15 when we started in Forbidden Evil, and I just couldn't imagine doing it without him. But at the same time, I knew that he was going through so much and changing and learning and growing, and being sober is a job. I mean, for some people, it's a real hard thing to maintain, and you can't, put yourself in certain situations. So Russ, he when he first this goes back years because he I didn't know how bad off he was until I got a phone call to see him, and he just asked me if he actually didn't even ask me to see him. He said he was in a bad way, and I just said, "Hey, give me your address. I'll come see you. What's going on?" I went the next day, and he was in a bad way. He needed to do a change, or he's going to die. He was drinking one of those gigantic bottles of Jack Daniels
Yeah,
every day and a half, the big ones, the jugs. And uh, but in that meeting, he was very, very apologetic for not being totally focused and very sad about, I didn't do my best and I'm sorry. I mean, dude, I love you, dude. Just take care of yourself.
yeah,
Don't worry about it, and hopefully you'll be okay. And now he's okay, but he's not at all interested in reliving all that stuff again and putting the possibility of alcohol in his life.
yeah.
Venues don't take all the booze out of the house. It's all still there. So it's just his decision. So yeah, it just came naturally with seeing Skinner uh, do a couple things in front of my face that showed me that it could be done, and I still didn't accept it. And when we got the note from Alcatraz, or the letter from Alcatraz asking if we'd be interested in taking Anthrax's spot and doing one exclusive 35th anniversary show at the Alcatraz Festival in Belgium, that was the moment I said, okay, this is the universe is opening up. I have the guy. I already know who's, that Matt Camacho and Steve Smythe would be my other guys, but I called them to ask them if they were interested. Of course, they're like, in a second, they're like, yes. And I called Skinner, would you be interested in doing this? He's like, yeah. Yeah, he's wanting to do it. He was really wanting to do it. So, and then I had to figure out the drummer part. But there it was, like, it was only barely a month ago that I even considered it. I think it was just about a month, maybe a week over.
So, so, if,
So
so if it wasn't for the festival, you probably would still be in a limbo, so to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, honestly, because I mean, I do other things. I'm not a person, people misunderstand a lot of my intentions in music. Like I do things because I love them. I
Yeah.
don't try to chase things down. I'm not really trying to chase down popularity or, anything like, people assume because I just wasn't playing the same thing my whole life that I'm chasing trends. And it's like, no, no, if that was the case, that would have been a lot easier. I just like, because I tend to like to forge new ground.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've been doing that my whole career, and it's more of a satisfactory and art.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm doing, I'm liking it because that's what I want to do. So now I really want to do Forbidden. Now I feel like, uh, of course the climax, right? People are excited, but for me, I want to write music again. I want to pay tribute to the old songs, more to the intention that we wrote them in. I want to do. I have a lot of ideas, and I just want to execute them all. And it just seems like it's like everything's opening up for that. People are open to it. I'm making good enough offers where I can make things happen, and it's very exciting.
Yeah. So you see, like, the universe is moving in that direction, because, like, if the Alcatraz thing didn't happen, you probably would still have that doubt if it was worth it, or if it was really, tangible to do Forbidden again. But when you see the parts moving, you start to get excited.
Yeah, oh, I have to, man. I mean, I am excited. It has to be, like I just said, it has to be coming from a real place for me.
Yeah.
So the sincerity of wanting to do this is there. And trust me when I tell you, all five guys are ready to move in the same direction. Because, even when Forbidden came back in 2008, Russ wasn't 100% healthy. And there was, there was just some weird stuff because it wasn't all five guys moving together. So now having all the pieces wanting to do this, knowing what the goal is, following my lead this time without any kind of grinding, or resistance, because it's really hard. It's really hard to be in a band in the first place, but it's even harder when you can't clearly have a vision for a band and have everyone on board with it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the meetings. That's one of the discussions, and everybody, it come to me individually, said, I'm ready to follow your lead on this. It's your vision, and that's a really cool thing, because I don't think that was ever truly said, even in any stage of Forbidden, because it just kind of happened over the years that I end up doing so much of the work. I ended up doing, towards the end, like 90% of the work, and I'm like, what the fuck, But if everyone has a job, and you delegate,
Yeah.
the word delegate, if you delegate and everyone has a job and they're all working together, then I think great things can happen. And I don't know what our limit is, or how big or small, or it doesn't really matter to me. I just know that at least if this vision is going to turn out good, then I think there'll be a great record, and better live shows than people saw us do, at the last round, but
Yeah.
by far. I mean, and having Chris Contos on drums does not hurt.
Yeah.
I've already played with him. I played with him in another band called the Boneless Ones. So, and that's super fun, skate punk, thrash, crossover stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of music, the last album you guys put out was through Nuclear Blast 2010, Omega Wave. Are you still under contract by any means? I don't know how those things work. And normally,
I
like, if you still
I
have if you still have something to give to them, or what's the...
No, we are. I am for sure. Two of those members are not in the band anymore, but they wrote me into that as a kind of the key member, and I spoke with them, and they were very happy. So I mean, Nuclear Blast, there's 99% chance that's going to be exactly where our home is. So it's a great metal label, and they took good care of us, and we didn't do our end of it. We didn't follow through on our end. We had to cancel an entire European tour last second because our drummer quit on us because he had family stuff going on. And, so people are asking, why is Mark Hernandez playing with you? And it's because he quit in 2011. Even though I've been playing music with him and Dress the Dead for years, Forbidden is a different entity.
Yeah.
And I need to have people that are there and can commit for things, so
Yeah.
That's, so Nuclear Blast, I would love to honor their end of it, and they'll honor our end of it.
Yeah. And, obviously Alcatraz, it's the first, show. Is it going to be the first show you guys are going to play for this rebirth? Or
Well, I'll tell you. You ask me and I'll tell you anything I can say. And the other things I can't say, I won't tell you. But I can tell you this, that they offered us that show and said, do you want to do a warm-up gig a couple of days before? So we'll probably have a very small location, and we'll just go in there and pound out the set one night, maybe 2 days before the show. And that'll be that. And then that's all for Europe. And then I play the following week with the Boneless Ones at Dynamo, so that's going to be great, because there's a huge skate culture.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There's a huge skate culture in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for that band, because there's a skate rock band, So, but then we only have one appearance in America that I cannot announce later in the year, and that's it. And that's all. And I'm going to just write music with the guys, keep on honing his songs in, add other songs to the set. Because I think Alcatraz, we're going to primarily focus on Forbidden Evil. It's 35th anniversary. It seems like it needs to be. Well, we should probably hit every song.
Yeah.
So and add a couple others to the set as well.
Cool. And when it comes to music, obviously, as a musician, I know people tend to write a lot, keep old tapes, old riffs, hidden somewhere. Do you have any riffs recordings from the past that you might bring up for a new Forbidden record, or you want to start fresh?
Both. I think I'm not going to lean into much old stuff, but I have riffs that I've written in the past that I had intended for Forbidden that I'll examine. But I mean, I have a really different way I want to attack writing this time. Usually I would, just come up with the riffs, and then what the riff sounded like, I would tell the story to the riff. And this time I'm going to lean into it with more concepts for what I want to write about, and then write the song around the concept. And I'm going to do most of the record, or at least a great portion of it, in E, which is what the first two albums were written in. I just feel like if you can make it heavy and just standard E tuning,
yeah,
it'll be heavy in any tuning. And I mean, Forbidden, we did drop C sharp on Omega Wave, and then just E flat. So but we were down a little bit, not as much as these other bands these days. But I'd like to mix it up. I like to do a lot of old electric sounding, high energy, stuff, and I'd like to add a few songs that do drop down, but that way it's got variety that I think it needs. But hardly anybody out of our peers, if anybody, that's actually one of the bigger bands from the past plays an E anymore, because they don't usually have a singer that wants to do it. It's harder. But Norman Skinner's fantastic. He can sing his ass off. He's a couple of his bands already tuned to E, so it's not really a thing for him.
Yeah. I'm not a musician. I used to play guitar and I sucked at it anyway. But, I never, for me, my guitar was always standard E tuning. When people say, why don't you drop a whole tone or whatever? I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. It just means it's slower, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Sabbath started all that, right? It's not new.
Yeah.
When everyone's, they're getting so upset, I'm like, well, Sabbath had been doing it, and then a lot of bands tuned a half step down, which is just 1 fret basically, but over time, everyone started tuning down really low and lower. When I was in the band, I started a band called Man Made God after Forbidden ended in '97, and I bought my first Les Paul, and then I had dropped everything to drop A, which nobody was like. It was hard to describe, but I was playing a lot of things on the A string, so it was an E, right? But then I'd just be able to move it down and go, whoa, there'd just be moments. Very experimental. It was fun, but I've done enough of that. Here and there is good for low tuning, but I really do want to do this album in a bouncing, thrashy, pace, and nothing suits it better than E.
Yeah. Do you think now it's like we just came from COVID, from lockdowns and all that. We see bands canceling, performances, tours because of rising costs and everything. Do you still think it's like a right time for a band like Forbidden to come back, and go out for the attack?
Well, I hope so. I mean, you never know. I can't really predict what's going to happen, in the world climate, as far or climate, for one, real climate, like,
Yeah.
there's problems there, but I can't really predict what's going to happen as far as travel. The expense of travel is a big thing now. Visas are a big thing now. It's like, harder for people to get around. So I don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but I do know that we're going to try to hit my business model for this is going to be to play the best things we can play, the most special things we can play, for as long as we can do that, and not do everything, because there's a lot of bands that'll just do as much. They'll just constantly work. And what my work wants to be on mostly is writing music on the side and putting out solid products. I would like to do a few albums. I mean, let's concentrate on one. But I mean, my goal is like, let's make more than one. Let's do, let's make some great music and play special shows, which in turn means that I might not get to play every single market with this band, which is, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But it breaks bands in half trying to hit every single place. And you see what happens, and it happens to the best of us, is it burns a band out. And I think that at the end of the day, the quality of the record and that product is going to be the thing that stands the time the best, more than playing in, XYZ New Mexico, or, not to say anything. I'm just saying it's really hard to hit every market. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so you want to play festivals that people can go to, or in and around these regions,
Yeah. I've been in the music business, journalist, photographer, and everything. And, now that I work closer with festivals here in Portugal and promoters, I come to realize how difficult it is for some bands, because they have those flying shows normally in festivals, and they rest like for a couple of hours. And I cannot imagine, when you get to a certain age, how the fuck do you hold on to just sleeping like 2 or 3 hours? I don't understand how is that even, for me, I need my, not beauty sleep, but I need my sleep. I couldn't just, get up at 5 a.m. to go to the airport, flying to whatever country, no rest, just go on stage, play, then go straight.
Well, that's the life. That's the life of a road dog, Jorge. And I've done that, and it gets no more crazy than when you go to a place like either South America or Australia, where you're waking up every day flying into the next show. Like, the distances, and you don't want to travel over the border in any vehicles, because but that'd be South America. But the distances in Australia are so far and vast. So that's just part of the deal when you go to a certain place, and that. But I would just do that in small increments. Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, I anticipate this band hitting maybe a 2-week tour, as opposed to a month and a half tour, and that'll keep us fresh and more into it, and more aligned with trying to keep the music really special, as opposed to like, oh fuck, here we go again, plug it in, go. It's tough, man. Yeah, it's tough.
I was talking with Bobby from Overkill a couple of weeks ago, and he said like they do like 2 weeks or 3 weeks tour, and that's it. 3 weeks, or I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, and that's it. They then go back home, and then they go for another 3 weeks or whatever it is. And they do this, they prefer to do these smaller week tours instead of being 2 months on the road, because, the body doesn't take it anymore.
Yeah, they're smart. Bobby is really, really great guy. He's one of my favorite dudes in metal. He's the best. That's the way to do it. Keep it special. And I think they'll, I don't know what the most extensive run they'll do these days is, but Forbidden's first tour back was in the United States was with Overkill.
Yeah.
which was really fun. And yeah, but that was like, I think we did about 3 weeks with them, and then they jumped off and went back home, and then we finished out the rest headline.
Yeah.
So I think we were out for over a month on that one.
Yeah. And now you got Alcatraz, and you're going to plan to write stuff. Do you plan like to release a single or something? Because with streaming services and the way people consume music, things changed now. Do you plan like to release a single or a couple of songs before the album? Do you have any idea what the plan is going to be when it comes to that?
Well, I can't say too much, but I know that we recorded some stuff with Russ that was covers, and a couple of live tracks that we did at a festival that we've been talking about putting out for a long time. So that's likely to drop right around then, right around Alcatraz. And that'd be a nice way to show people, remind people how great Russ is and was, because it's incredible. Like his performances on the cover songs, people will be blown the fuck away. And it's good because, we want to honor him. We're not trying to make anyone forget about Russ and Norman Skinner. Norman Skinner is his own man. And just like Iron Maiden switched from Di'Anno to Dickinson and Ozzy to Dio and anybody else, these are all just mega talents, and Norman's a mega talent just like Russ. So
cool. Right, Craig, I'm really looking forward to see what you guys come up with. I'm getting a bit itchy about it, music-wise, especially because, Forbidden was always a great band. So, I'm very curious to see what you guys are going to come out with. Expectations are going to be a bit high, probably, for us, but I'm sure you guys are going to deliver anyway. So
yeah, we are. And I got to say, getting back to Chris Kontos a little bit, that's, he wasn't going to, like, when this whole thing came up, he was telling me I should do it and giving me suggestions for drummers because he didn't want to test our friendship like that. And I was the same, like, fuck, we already get along so great. We're already in one band together. We already do this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, I reached back out to him. I said, you know what, dude? You're going to be kicking yourself, and I'm going to be kicking myself if this thing takes off and we didn't examine you and I doing this and writing a heavy metal, like a thrash metal record together. And he's like, you're right. So then he came back and agreed. And where I'm going with this is having Chris. The thing about him is he is so smart and so savvy. He's got producer's ears. His dad was a very famous producer. He's got, he's been in a lot of bands and he's done a lot of things, but he was nothing more involved in that Burn My Eyes, the Machine Head record. And that stands the test of time. And he lended a lot of his best attributes to that record and hasn't really been able to do it in a metal record like that since. He's done it, Boneless Ones, we put a lot of work in. He did amazing stuff on that record. But it's not like this. This is going to be intricate. It's going to be thrashy, and we want to make it cutting edge and homage to the old school. So having him there, along with Steve and Matt and myself and Norman, it's going to be a really big attribute for this thing. It's going to make the record even more special.
Yeah,
it won't disappoint many, but it might surprise a lot. Nothing's really been written. I've only written lyrics. I've pounded out some lyrics so far. So, like I said, I'm trying to conceptualize what I want to write about, and then it'll all flow.
Yeah. I remember I was last year at Bloodstock in England, and Chris was there. He was on the pit for Merciful Fate. I was there photographing, and he's just like standing beside me with his girl, and he was like, I think I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
I was like, I said, don't start because I'll start crying too as soon as I see King and Merciful Fate coming on stage. And, we had that moment there. It was fun. And, he's a very genuine guy. And
he's a fan. He's a fan first.
Yeah. He's so passionate
I love
about
him,
music. And, seeing him during the festival on the side of the stage, watching Venom Inc. and, other bands. And he was just having fun. And, when I talk to bands, I don't consider myself a journalist. I'm a fan of music. And for me, it's more important to be a fan than be a journalist, because to be a journalist, you have to be, I don't know, expert in something, and I'm not expert in nothing. I just love music, you know.
That's okay, man. You know, what happens to journalists is the same thing that can happen to bands. You can get really convinced in your own opinions, and you know, you can be condescending or come across, you know. So it's the same in any business.
Yeah.
You know, journalists act like know-it-alls. The guys in bands can act like they know it all, and you know, actors, you name it, whatever genre you're in.
Yeah.
Even if you're in normal news, you know, it's just, yeah, it's cool. It's cooler to remain a fan in the middle of it all. And even you know, I'm a fan, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said at the beginning of this, I went to see Mastodon and Gojira. When I'm watching those bands, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And I love that music. And I'm so glad that there's people out there. I cheer for success, and I'm so glad there's people out there that are doing well at this, that have hit the top of the, you know, this is my dream for Forbidden many years ago, but it just didn't pan out, you know. You got to have everybody on the same page. One thing about those two bands that should be mentioned also is that all the members are there from the beginning.
Yep.
Nobody's been in, nobody's been out. It's just it's 4 and then 5, and that's why they're special. So that's the rarest thing of all, if you can get people that stick together all those years.
Yeah. And, you know, just wrap it up. And you talked about, you know, writing the lyrics, conceptualize. Are you, this pandemic, the environment, you know, this crisis, financial crisis, does that inspire you to write the lyrics? Will that inspire you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you ever read Forbidden, I mean, I took over most of the lyric writing from Twisted in a Form going on. You know, Forbidden was written by, in parts, Russ and myself, sprinkled through a lot of different things, you know. But then it started getting real focused on Twisted in a Form, and I've always been my ear to the ground, feeling the pulse of the collective conscious, you know, trying to hit the yin and the yang. You know, the two skulls is really, you know, that dichotomy, I think, is a good word. You know, it just the battle, and that's been a big part of my lyrical content, is that psychological internal thing. So you can relate it all to a lot of the things that are happening now, and the disconnection, and people think they know everything because they read it on the internet. You know, that's a big thing. Like, I read it and it's got to be true because my source is like, you don't know. I had this conversation. I just did a podcast with Jimmy Josta. We got into this whole thing, and I just said, you know, I was a conspiracy guy. You know, I went down all the rabbit holes, but then I came to realize what could I possibly really know other than what I think I know, because I'm not involved in those worlds. So there's a lot of things I could write about to answer your question. Like, it's all laid out there. It's the perfect time for those forbidden lyrics. And I'm excited to get into that again.
All right, Craig, thank you very much for your time, and all the best for Forbidden, all the best for Alcatraz. You know, as soon as you guys said you were going to play there, I just looked at the lineup of Alcatraz and I was like, maybe it's time to try and visit Alcatraz, you know?
Yeah, it's a great. I played it last year. My band Dress the Dead played Alcatraz last year, and then we went and played Dynamo the following week, and did Bay Area Interthrational there. So, you know, it's a great festival, man. It's not too big. It's about 25,000 people. You know, so it doesn't seem like it's too big, but it's pretty big. When you're in it, you're like, holy shit! You know, it's pretty big. So it'll be perfect for Forbidden's first show back. It'll be the perfect place.
Very good. All right, Craig, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Forbidden. Looking forward to hear the new music. And, you know, I'm getting excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jorge. I appreciate it, man.
Right.
And I hope to see everyone out there in Portugal soon.
All right. We'll do
You guys have festivals. You guys have festivals.
We do have festivals. And
we'll see you.
This year we have one here in Lisbon with Pantera and Slipknot, 2-day festival. Pantera headlining one day, Slipknot the next day. So, you know, we might bring you guys here.
Next year. Everything's next year. 2024 for everybody else.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right.
All right, man.
Craig, have a great day, and I hope to see you guys soon. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.